Okay, good morning to you. My first question is, what is the solution for rewards and punishments in a group and also individually? The solution is ultimately, when nothing else works, it's nonviolent resistance. But there are two steps that come before it. One is identifying the problem, which can be very difficult to do because when it's a large system, there are so many complications that to try to figure out, and there are also so many different types of punishments. And each context has a different type of situation and punishment. Sometimes it's very subtle. Sometimes you don't even know you're being punished. So it's very hard to identify sometimes the problem. Number two, communicate with the opposition. Sometimes it's just a mistake and they didn't really mean whatever you understood. And once you talk to them, everything is cleared up. But if you have a large group, it's even more important. Like if you're a large group of people, somehow you represent these people, you want to make sure you are not making a mistake, and you talk to your opposition and find out if they can change something, or if you can change something, or what can be done. And really, that is can be a very difficult state because, of course, it's hard sometimes to talk to your opposition, especially if they're very important people and don't have much time. And the third step is resistance. And the purpose of the resistance, one of the purposes you have in general is unity. All of reality is one, is unified. Even if there are opposition, they are part of a unified whole. So you do not want to use any violence. When you do your resistance, you do it non-violently, and you don't want to hurt them. So if you realize you're hurting them, of course you stop. But also the unity of your group of people is very important. One way that they can undo your resistance is by buying people off. In other words, rewarding certain people. And the reason that's bad is it causes division. You don't want division in your group of people, but you're looking for the common good, the unity of the whole, not just your group of people. You also want to be unified with your opponent in the end for the common good of everyone. And that is the idea of this. Is resistance a necessity or just if you want to? Well, I would say if you are being treated violently, now you can forgive people and everything, but if it's something that you are very clear that this is a type of violence to you, then the resistance, I would say, I would feel obliged to do something to resist it, because if you don't, then you're becoming a victim. You're telling them, oh, I like being treated violently. I mean, this is on an individual level. So if somebody, you know that somebody is, then you bring it up to them. You start out by talking. Once you identify that it really is a type of punishment, you talk to them and you say, I don't like being, whatever it is, being criticized or whatever it is. Don't say it in a violent way. You start with the word I, and you tell your opponent, I, am so-and-so, I need this, I need that, and I don't like it when, people do so-and-so, and they'll know you're talking about them. And then after you talk it over with them, then you might have to resist in some way. And then you have to figure out how to resist. But at least you let it be known that you are not a victim. You don't like being victimized. Because there are some who might be attracted by the very punishment that they are going to get. and you want to clarify that. And this is true if you're in a group also. Your group does not want to be victimized. So it is somewhat obligatory when you're sure of what you're doing, but it takes a lot of study and a lot of work to be sure. What if we would find ourselves in the middle of a situation where there is a culture of rewards and punishments? Well, sometimes it's like a chain reaction. People, one person rewards another person rewards the next person. It goes in like a chain. And by our not cooperating, it's going to have a very big effect. But if we're sure that this is a type of punishment or type of reward, then it's important for us to, once we again talk to them, to the opposition, and get it clear, or get it clear in our own heads, then if we resist this on an individual basis, we are taking a link out of that chain reaction, and it will have a big effect. Even if just one person resists it, and that's why we're going to see that big reaction, and there could be a punishment for it. If you're the only one doing it, you will be the one that's punished for it. If there's a whole group of people standing up to it, you might not be the one punished, but somebody might be punished, because there is a big effect when we do not cooperate. But we have to make sure what we're doing, we don't just do this for fun. Just if there's a big injustice being done, a big violence, or a violence being done, and it has to be a certain amount of violence before it warrants such a disagreeable thing to do as to not cooperate. In general, we want to cooperate with other people if the overall plan is good and there are just some few little faults. We want to cooperate. But if the overall plan is based in this type of thing, where people are being punished, other people are being rewarded, and it's totally unfair, then we want to not cooperate. What will result? Well, as I said, what results from resistance can be violence toward ourselves. There is a price to pay. And if there's a group, that's why it's good to have a whole group stand up to injustice. But this is very hard to organize. But if there's a lot of communication among the people in the group, they can organize and they can all stand up, and that makes it easier. As I say, there are a lot of difficulties in this, and one of them is the communication, even the communication about this. I have difficulty sometimes because the words evolve as I'm speaking. The meaning of a word can evolve very quickly because of the change in context, or for whatever reason, all of a sudden the very word that I'm using seems to mean the opposite of what I'm trying to say. So part of it is studying the situation. There are so many different situations, and there are so many different contexts in which punishment is used in many different ways that are hard to understand. So if anyone can help me with this information, if you know of an example, probably I've never heard of it before, I would appreciate it if you would give me a comment and let me know, so that, well, if you could add to this, because there's a lot that I do not know. Thank you very much, if you can do that.